Gentlemen, welcome back. We are bringing you another great interview from one of our everyday gents, a hero, Luke Mischke. Now, what makes Luke an everyday gent? I mean, this guy is balancing work, life, and family, starting a new business. He's married to a local TV personality, and today we're going to talk to him a little bit about all those things, how he balances all those balls and still manages to be a dad, husband, father, and an all-around everyday gent. So stick around. We'll be right back. Well, Luke, thanks for joining us. Always nice to meet a guy who is your everyday guy who's really killing it out there. So I always start off every one of these interviews with, tell me a little bit how you became the man you are today.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for interviewing me and giving me this opportunity to share, first of all. Thinking about like the man that I am today, I guess, and how I became that. It's a long road, and I still think it's a work in progress. I wouldn't say that I'm a fully established man in any sense of the word, but I got a lot of progress to do. But I'm the youngest of 5 kids. Had good parents that were just good, loving parents. We all had our struggles. We didn't live in a perfect household. It wasn't the Jeffersons or the it was different. My dad passed away when I was 14. I had 3 older brothers and an older sister, and so that affected everybody differently at different stages in our life. With me being the youngest, a couple of them got into manhood with him, and not quite me. So I always looked up to my dad like crazy when I was young. He was a superhero. He was the strongest guy in the room, toughest guy in the bar, whatever you want to. It was kind of a testosterone-filled man, and so I always looked up to him in that sense. And when he passed, there was a huge part of me that was searching for that replacement for a long time, and looking for what type of man I was going to be. And I sought out a lot of different people, and it's a tragedy and a horrible thing to lose a parent, obviously. But I remember when it happened, I had this really weird sense that if God was okay with me living the rest of my life without my dad, he wouldn't have let that happen. If that makes sense, if I said that right.
Wow, that's quite the background. It's neat to hear how you've used your past to build off of.
Yeah. And
what that means to you now. Talk to me about some of the values that you hold dear right now, and what does that mean for you in your life?
Yeah. I think, as I was maybe picking and choosing people to look up to over time, and even from my parents at a young age, honesty is one of my strongest values. When I'm thinking about, like, obviously I have my faith, and that is grown, and that goes through seasons, like anybody's faith does. But when I think about values, honesty is like probably number 1. Integrity. I remember my mom and my dad were both really honest with me as far as being transparent with their failures. And so because of that, I was able to not feel so ashamed maybe when I came to them with my failures. And I just want that for my kids too. I remember at a really young age, I made a mistake, and I went to I wrote this letter. I felt horrible. Smoked pot for the first time in my life, and I felt I was so ashamed. I was so scared. I thought my parents were going to disown me, right? And it was this peer pressure behind the basketball, right? Typical story. So I wrote this letter confessing. And when I gave it to them, and they gave it, they pulled me into their room, and they read this letter with me, and they just told me how proud of me they were. And they told me how proud of me that I was honest with them, and that what I did, it was normal, and it didn't make me feel bad. And it was like really from there, this weird like thing set in stone, where I just like had this idea where it was like telling the truth counts, it matters, and it's a big deal.
Who were some people that were your mentors beyond that point?
Yeah.
Maybe some lessons you learned from them.
Yeah. When I think about like the mentors and the people that stepped in, not replaced, but stepped in, a few people come to mind. it's been so many years now, right? I'm 34. That happened when I was 14. So to think it was 20 years ago is a long time. I've had a lot of mentors along the way. Early on, there was a guy named Jonathan Schmitz, who was quite a few years. He was, I think, 6 or 7 years older than us in high school. He came back to town. His dad passed away, similar age as mine. He was a Christian guy leading a Bible study in our hometown and just pouring into kids in our community. And I mean, that was so insanely valuable. And anybody who was a part of that community at that time would say the same thing. I had a few teachers, Mr. McGill, Doug Champeau. There are multiple teachers at my school. We had, fortunately, I had a lot of good teachers that really mentored me, probably more than they realized it. They probably didn't realize how much I looked up to them because I wasn't always the best student and I wasn't always the most respectful. I was a little bit of an arrogant kid. I was faking it a lot of the time, but they were really good mentors to me.
Okay. I mean, you're a guy that's got a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
You're a dad, a husband. You guys have an amazing videography project going right now. Loving it. We're loving it. Tell us a little bit about what are the things you got going on in your life right now? What balls are you juggling?
Yeah. Well, the household is the biggest ball, that we juggle, and I think that everybody should juggle. I got 2 kids, 10 and 3-year-old, Annabelle and Emmaus. And my wife works on a passion project called Nicole Mischke Uncovered. It's an amazing project that she's working on. It's telling stories of uncovering shame. I play a part in that in a very small way, in a very small background, but more than anything, just trying to support her in that. It takes a lot of time. She's spending a lot of time putting a lot of hours in behind the scenes that people don't see. And so I need to be there to help with the kids. I need to be there to help with her, taking care of the house. But then at the same time, I've launched my own business as a realtor. And so we're both working for ourselves in a sense. And everybody who's ran a business or is preparing to run a business or has ran a business in the past knows you are in control of your time, but it's harder than you think. And I think you can always, when you run your own business, you can work on it all day, right? You're not going to a place and they say, okay, you're off at 5, right? And you get to go home and stop thinking about your business. So
being a guy who's working for himself,
yeah,
you're responsible for your own success on a daily level.
Right.
Talk to me about some of the habits you have that focus you on being successful.
I'll write down what I want to accomplish. I'll write down what I want to do, what I should do. And sometimes I just sit and stare at it until I do it. And when I say sit and stare at it, it's like 5-10 minutes of like brainstorming in front of a goal. And then going, okay, make the call, make that phone call, prospect, reach out to these people, do this, right? Because so much of real estate is a relationship business, which is really cool, by the way. I'm such a relationship guy and such a talkative guy and such a people person, to be able to like realize that is work to me now is constantly building and growing those relationships just feels like a really big blessing.
We've gone through a lot today, learned a lot about you, learned about what drives you, where you've been, where you're going. But the question I always ask every single guy at the end of these interviews is, if you had advice for any young man who's getting ready to move into the field that you're in, what would that be?
Yeah. As far as the field that I'm in, it feels really new to try to give advice for the real estate field. But as far as the real estate goes, I think if you're going to do it, jump in. I think, save some money, have money stashed away, and then get in and go for it all the way. Don't halfway commit. Don't try to do it part-time. Commit to it and just go in all the way. One of the things that I just realized recently is it's just like you can do what you want to do. There's no reason that I shouldn't, right? Maybe not the most responsible thing to do, but there's no reason I couldn't decide tomorrow that I want to accomplish a new goal. And I think there's a lot of guys, and I know that I struggled for a long time with just this idea of this is all I can do. This is all there is for me, right? And so if you're young and if you're going to college, not going to college, working a job you're not really that passionate about, or you're in it and you want the promotion, it's like, tell them you want the promotion. Just go take what you want and ask for what you want is more important than what I could say about real estate at this point. If you want something, just go get it. And if you fail, it's go get something else. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Luke, father, husband, budding real estate agent. Thanks for joining us here at Everyday Gents. This has been great.
Thanks for having me.